Welcome to The Crossroads, the show where we dive into the stories of unique and accomplished individuals so that you can unlock your best life.
Why do you want to interview me?
Oh yeah, okay, sure, no problem. So for that, I would say that the reason I started is I just graduated from college about 6 months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And so since then, I've had a lot of free time on my hands. I guess you could say, but I'm mostly pursuing like freelance videography, filmmaking, and just creative entrepreneurship. And throughout the second half of my college, I really enjoyed listening to podcasts when I wasn't in school because I could learn about the stuff I actually really cared about. Not to say that schooling wasn't important, but my history also begins much in dance. I started breaking when I was in high school.
Oh, cool.
My freshman year. Yeah. And so ever since then, that was kind of my foot into the door. And then I found out about urban dance and Kinjas, Keone Mari. And I had friends that I was growing up alongside with. I'm not sure if you know Jeremy Borja.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. He dances with Isidro. He just did a K-pop with us.
Exactly. Yes. He told me about you as well. So he actually, I originally had seen you around on Instagram under your handle. And I didn't know what your real name was. I was always just like, Shane Mommy, and then he's like, oh yeah, Cheyenne.
Tells me that.
Yeah, and so yeah, it was Jeremy who disclosed your name, so I was able to research more and find you.
I love it. That's hysterical.
He's a good friend of mine growing up, and
he's sweetie.
Before the quarantine, he had just started bringing me to stadium trainings with Isidro.
Oh, okay. So you manage Isidro too.
Yes, exactly, and then that's super cool. That's why you have a very big roster of people, which I'm curious how you are managing to do all of that, quite literally, with 24 hours in a day. That's pretty crazy.
I have a team, and they're freaking amazing. So
got it. Okay, I see. So I guess to answer your question, the reason I started this podcast is because I wanted to learn as much as I could from the people that are taking leading the scene forward, and whether that be the urban dance or just street scene. That I kind of wanted to find out, also have on record, because I noticed that a lot of this wasn't there wasn't a lot of resources for being able to hear from people's mouths directly what they do, what their stories are, and what drove them to become where they are today. So I'm trying to provide that space online, and I guess now is kind of like making lemonade out of lemons, right? Because we're in here, but at least I can do this.
Yeah. So how did I get thrown in the mix?
Right. Okay. So I don't know. I feel like you were somebody that I felt deserved more of a voice, because it seems like you're someone who's the Wizard of Oz, pulling the strings.
Thanks.
So I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to ask you more about that today, and because of course I know pretty much the names of everybody you're managing, but not everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
Especially the ratio. I'm sure a lot of people in the community know your name, but you're always the judge or the manager, so I hope today, if you are so inclined, to be able to finally share some of that.
No, absolutely, and thank you for considering me.
Of course. Yeah. And I'm always nervous when I'm going to interview a guest, because these people are y'all are big deals, and
just a person just like you.
Yes,
I wake up, I have a stinky breath, and I have to poop just like you, so there's nothing to be nervous about.
Thank you. That's very reassuring. And you were very reassuring even while I was researching, because all of your posts were very positive and uplifting. So I wanted to commend you for that. And they stand the test of time, most definitely. Okay. So I guess without further ado, I'm just going to say welcome. Okay. Cheyenne, thank you for being a part of this and taking the time to sit down in this second edition of COVID-19 edition of The Crossroads.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And I guess I asked you a little bit off camera, but how have you been dealing with the situation? And I guess what have you and your family been doing to continue staying positive and moving forward? And your team.
Yeah, my team. Yeah, my the biggest thing that is honestly working so hard to stay positive. It's really easy to get sucked down the ugly rabbit hole, especially with the media, social media, and the fact that everybody is genuinely scared. So, we're really working hard to stay positive and to reassure those who we love and that we work with and that we deal with on a regular basis who are feeling the effects of what's going on, and doing our due diligence to make sure that when we come out of this, because the reality is we are going to make it through this, that we are ready to hit the ground running, that there is work on the horizon, and that we have taken the necessary steps to be able to push and drive forward as we need to for all of our humans and for us.
Oh yes, most definitely. And that's a very great point that you make, is that this is going to pass. It may last as like it may end tomorrow, who knows, but it may last months, but at the end of the day it is going to pass.
Yeah,
And
it is.
having that long-term vision is definitely something that it helped me a lot when, I guess, it first started, because I've definitely felt that type of energy just kind of drop, and the negativity, and felt like there wasn't any point in doing anything. But remembering that we will be able to go out again, and that these things are going, even though everything's getting canceled, like, people are going to hit the ground running. This is the time to innovate, right? So yeah, I'm glad to be able to have heard that from you guys as well.
Thank you.
And now, just having you personally on this show, I wanted to be able, the reason I wanted to have you on the show, and I told you a little bit off camera as well, is because I think a lot of the people who are listening right now know the names of the ones that you are helping push their careers forward. But you're not always the person, and this is the part of the job, right? You are the person a lot of the time who is supporting them and calling the shots behind the scenes and behind the curtain. So I wanted to know how. Well, first, let's get into, before we get into what exactly it is you do, I wanted to know how you ended up here, and your journey from how you entered this dance world, how you entered urban dance. What you look you look actually very young for having 3 children. So also, especially having like Davin, right, who just turned 23.
23
So
yesterday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. And what the journey was like for you, I guess from I guess let's say, yeah, whenever dance kind of entered your life.
Okay. I actually started dancing when I was 2. My mom put me in a ballet class, and I got kicked out because I was climbing the curtains. So they kicked me out. I don't know. It just, it's, you know, apparently it sounded, I didn't want to go with the grain. How's that? But I really did love dance. And I took class when I was able to go back in, you know, just kind of like the 1 class a week type of thing, recreational. Every child, I feel, starts in ballet and maybe a little ballet tap combo, and then jazz. I was really drawn to like the funk styles and more the street scene and hip hop. And what did they call it? Where I was taking class, they called it funky jazz. That's what they called it.
Funky jazz. Right.
I think in the suburban areas, I was born in the Bay Area, and I lived out there until I was 3. And then I moved to Sacramento County. I lived in a smaller city called Folsom.
Okay.
And then from Folsom, I moved down to San Diego, and then I've been here ever since. But where I was dancing in Folsom, they called it, you know, street jazz or funky jazz, stuff like that. And I just started choreographing, and I was on the dance team and made up all our dances, stuff like that. I was dancing for a man named Pepper Vaughn, who actually is now known for Zumba, which is hysterical.
Yes, that's what I heard about him. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's known for Zumba, but he actually had what he called a funk team, and that was the first company that I danced for in Sacramento. Danced for him, and then I moved down to San Diego, and I danced down here for a long time. I was on Culture Shock for a very, very long time. I also danced for Urban Effects on their inaugural season. I did Culture Shock San Diego, San Francisco, and ultimately stopped dancing. Stopped performing when I was on Culture Shock LA. That was my last season of performing. And I danced at all the theme parks. I did Legoland and SeaWorld and Disneyland and all that. But that's, I started teaching dance when I was 15, and I actually still do teach dance. I still teach the babies. Foundation is important. And
Is there a
that's,
reason? Sorry.
no, go
Is
ahead.
there a reason that you stopped dancing?
Um, I mean, I still dance,
Okay.
but I don't perform. I still
Performing.
take class. I love to train with Melvin when we travel. Melvin Timtim. His style is something that it resonates with me. So I always take class when I'm with him and Bailey, and then when I travel with Keone Mari and they teach, which is few and far between with their amazing blessings of schedule that they have right now. I love to take their class too. So I take class. I wouldn't say that I'm training because training is extensive, but I do still dance. I just
You look fit.
my performance floor, my platform is just different now. It's not on the stage anymore, but I'm just dancing on a different dance floor now.
Most definitely. Okay, so after Culture Shock LA, what happens next? What do you
So
what do you start allotting your time to?
I was before I was managing, I was doing the same work, just under a different title and just doing a lot of other stuff that that wasn't necessarily my favorite. I was the executive director for a dance company. And at that point I was doing all the same things that I do now as a manager, but I also was responsible for a lot of stuff that I don't align with. So when I was no longer doing that, a couple artists had reached out to me and had asked me if I would work with them, that they had wanted to work with me. And, they knew that my schedule was full, but they were hoping that I could fit them in now. And that was really moving for me because I was able to do exactly what I loved about supporting humans. I was able to continue doing and focusing on the parts that I really align with. And ironically, everybody that we manage came to us. We don't advertise.
Oh,
We don't ask people. We don't reach out. They come to us.
really?
And
Wow.
mhm.
Oh.
and I
When you
mean,
say us, are you talking about Legacy?
yes, Legacy
Okay.
Entertainment. So I own Legacy Entertainment Group, and that is a management company. We are not an agency. We're a management company, and some of the artists that we manage are artists such as Keone Mari, Melvin Timtim, Bailey Sock, S Rank, Tre De Rego, Larkin Poynton, Laura Cortellamont, Shaun Evaristo. I don't have a list in front of me, and I don't want to
There's a
forget.
lot.
There
There's a lot.
are a
Yeah.
lot. There are a lot, and then we have artists who we support as well, who prefer to handle majority of what they do on their own and work with us on projects that are outside of their comfort zone or maybe a bit larger scale, like Chris Martin and Radiance, Rudy Abreu, artists like that who do prefer to handle their own work, but definitely can benefit from the support. And we're really big on meeting people where they're at. I think that that's something special about who we are, because everybody's different. Your needs are going to be different than my needs. Where you are at in your journey, in your work, in your life as a human being, it's going to be a different place than where I'm at. So I can't expect you to relate or work or apply things the same way that I would. So why should I expect that from anybody else?
That's amazing. That's a really good point to make as well, that you, especially if you want to work and achieve the best of both worlds when you're working with somebody, to make sure that you are fitting into their mold. So that's really awesome to hear that that's something that you guys do.
We're really big on alignment too. Whenever someone comes to us and asks if we will manage them, I always talk to them and just say, hey, what are we trying to solve for? what is it that we can do for you? And I listen. I listen, and from there we see if it's a good fit, if we do align, if it is something that would make sense. And oftentimes when people come to us, it's not. And there's nothing wrong with it. You know, we'll talk to them and explain where we're at and explain where they're at, listen to where they're at, listen to what they're looking to be solved, and talk through it together. And sometimes it's just not the fit. We're not what they need. And we're not driven by the money. We are driven by the culture, by the people, by something that we're so passionate about, which, you know, our global community and our dance community. And that is being able to help people and support people, advocate for them, help pave the path. That's the goal. That's the goal. So that ultimately they can leave their legacy. And that's what we want to do. And if that isn't what would happen, if we don't see that would be the right alignment, then we don't move forward. And it's never anything negative. It's always coming from a place of love. But it doesn't make sense to take someone on if we really don't have the tools to support them.
It's good to hear that you are very thoughtful about that type of alignment, regardless of the scale of how many people that you're handling. The fact that you put time and care into each one, that takes
a lot of time,
a lot of time, a lot of care,
a lot of time, a lot of travel, a lot of love, and a lot of gratitude, because at the end of the day, we're super, super blessed to be on and sharing this journey with so many people. And I do feel badly that I didn't list everyone. It's not because they're not important. It's just, you know, we only have so much time in this podcast.
Of course. Right. I mean, I guess shout out to two people that are also part of my life, Isidro and Selene. Thank you for taking care of them as well. You mentioned in that statement, supporting humans and gratitude, which I feel like are two big parts of your life.
Yes.
How exactly do you think those came to be? Do you think that that's something that's just naturally inherent in you? Is that something that your parents taught you? Was that something that you had to learn through a lesson? How do you think gratitude and supporting humans, you were able to identify those strengths within you to take it as far?
Yeah. I think, honestly, as people, we are all wired differently. When I take the Myers-Briggs test, I mean, it describes me down to a T. I am someone who's driven by service. I love people. I am a people pleaser. I like to do things for others, services. I receive joy when I know I have done something that is promoted, elevated, supported, done something positive for somebody else. That brings me joy. So the fact that this could be a career for me, it's almost funny, because I feel like I'm really getting paid for something that has brought me joy since I was younger. And it's a lot of work. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's the easiest thing in the world. There's a lot of things that we do that aren't fun, and they're not pretty, and they're not easy, and they can be very stressful. But at the end of the day, our focus and our job is to be a buffer, is to remove the logistics off of the artist's plate so that they can do what they're supposed to do, which is create and share their passion, and making sure that they have a platform and the platform that they deserve in order to do that. So, you know, we do handle a lot of the stuff that we're not going to talk about because we don't want people to know about it. It's not going to help if I sit here and say, oh, well, I did this, or you know, but there is that part too. You know, people will tell me sometimes, oh my gosh, it's just so blur. It's so wonderful. And it is wonderful. It is. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't. There's a lot that goes into it. So I think when I hear people say that they see the positives, which there are many, and they're not privy to things that aren't necessarily in the light or positive, that makes me feel good, because that means that we are doing our job at those times when they do come up.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's a lot of, and this is a lot of the stuff that I'm curious about, I guess. So I think that you may have an inclination, and I guess I can relate to this, because I think not the second, but when I began to be aware that gratitude is something that you can attain and you can practice. I felt like I felt a lot lighter. I felt a lot happier. And being able to work towards something that I enjoyed was
Mhm.
it was becoming aware of that
Mhm.
um, really made the journey just better. So I guess if I had to ask, it seems like it was something that you just enjoyed growing up because that was the type of person that you
Yeah.
were.
It's the
Um,
way God wired me. It just is. I love doing things for others. I really genuinely do.
how would you? How is that something that? Because you work with people of all types. Is
Mhm.
this something that you attract to people like this, or are there people that you work with that are also they're on a different page, on a different wavelength, um, and there's there's somewhere where you have to, as a manager, I'm not sure if this ends up becoming like a parental figure or a mentor, or is it more like a partnership between two like equal forces when you're managing somebody? How would you describe it?
Um, I think that because of the way that we work with people, at meeting them where they're at, and knowing that no two people are going to need the same thing, it's going to be different with each one. There are some that were very hands off, and we are there when they need us. And there are some that we work with deeply on a daily basis. So while the role is the same, the application is different. And everybody that we manage, I really do feel like they're family. We don't manage anyone that we don't align with, and that's huge. Um, but where I would say Keone would refer to me as more of a sister. Of course, Davin would say more of a mom, and Melvin says I'm more of a mom. And that might be the age difference, it might be the obvious relationship. Um, but at the end of the day, on some level, I really do feel that we do relate to each other like family, and we support each other. It's a collaborative effort. Um, the ultimate goal being to reach the goals, and making sure that everything that they need in order to do so is there for them.
Excellent. Good to hear. So I guess diving into maybe some of the logistics you spoke of.
Mm-hmm.
This is the stuff that a lot you are helping take the weight off the shoulders of the artists so that they can do their best work. I guess I'm assuming it's probably pretty different between project to project and day to day, but um, it with this amount of people that and this team, what would you say that your like before all of this happened, or like your regular, if that's a thing, like a routine
Like what
for
are doing daily?
a work, yeah, for your work would be like, how would you describe
Um,
that?
well, the morning always starts with lists and emails. I love making lists. There is a lot to do, and with a lot of different people, lists for me, they work great. They help me to tackle what I need to, when I need to do it, and email is one of the first things that I do when I get up. Is I check my email, my WhatsApp, my WeChat. Usually those, not too much comes through Instagram. When it does, I do try and direct it to just try and streamline to email, or if it's international, WeChat or WhatsApp. Go through those, see what came in, make a list, check on things that are still outlying, and then tackle things that need to be done that day. Look at what needs to be done for future, and a lot of times that includes things like, email, a lot of email, phone calls, conferences, Zoom meetings, follow-ups, negotiations, contract reviews, contract signing, um, making sure that any deliverables that we have that are due are taken care of, and checking in, and following up.
Is there, so you said an email in the morning, is there a tier list or a priority that you like to organize your days by so that you end on a certain note, or that you take care of the the heavier stuff early on or later on? that you
I
like to do?
try and do it. I try and take care of, I try and get my tackle list has to be done first thing in the morning. Because we do a lot of work internationally, across the board, a lot of stuff comes in the middle of the night. So it's important for me to get that tackle list going. And I try and start early because you don't know what's going to come through during the day. Sometimes things that come through during the day trump everything on the list and need to go to the top right away. So the earlier I get that list done, the earlier we get started. And I actually have I've gone through a few of them now, but I actually have a book, and I'll put the date on the top of the page, and then boom, go down and do a to-do list. And I will actually physically cross it off. I'm very tactile, so that feels good to me. But I have the book, that way I can go back a couple days. And you do see a trend. There might be a submission that's due in 2 weeks or in a week, but you keep it on that list so you can keep on top check on it. Do you need this? Do you need that? Was this handled? Was that handled? All the logistics that would go into that. And then I do, if it's something that I know has to be done that day, that's going to go to the top of the list. And then the other things I need to check in. Sometimes things don't happen. Maybe I need to follow up with person X and they're unavailable. So then that's going to go to the next day. But I do try and get those things done first thing in the morning. I do work well early in the morning. So getting those things started, getting the ball rolling is very, very helpful, because things are going to come in. Things are going to come in that are going to take precedence. And sometimes they're time consuming. Sometimes they're brief. But the more you can get done earlier, you kind of be ready for that.
Gotcha. I definitely feel you on the tactile thing. In front of me, I've got my planner and my journal, which is what I've been taking notes in as well. And it definitely has helped a lot. I'm curious what your book looks like. Maybe we could take a look at that later. But that sounds. How long have you been using that system for? Like having a planner or
I've gone through. It's actually, I had a planner, and the planner wasn't working for my needs.
Okay.
So I now have a calendar, and I have iCal and then the Google Calendar, and I have a calendar for almost all of the artists on iCal. Wow. They each have their own color code, and
that must look very colorful.
So colorful. Let me tell you, summer is like a rainbow every day. And then some artists prefer to use Google Calendar, because we share these calendars so that we can keep them updated, and if they need to add something or we need to add something. So very interactive, which is great. And then my to-do lists are in a book, and I've gone through several, and I love mermaids and unicorns. So the majority of my to-do lists are in some fabulous book, which might have some statement of positivity on the cover, or a unicorn, because so the little, my little nickname is that I'm a unicorn. And sometimes people will call me and say, hey, can you make your unicorn horn shine? And can you do this? Can you make your unicorn horn glow and make this happen? We need your unicorn horn. Yeah.
That's so cute.
So it's, I mean, it's definitely internal, but like our humans will call and be like, can you make your unicorn horn glow? And then whatever, it's usually like a joking way to say that they need something or something's come up that's a bit time sensitive. And I go, all right, I'll shine my unicorn horn. And that's why most of my books have unicorns on them.
Amazing. I can definitely tell, at least from just doing research, that you are, at least from an external point of view, exceptionally positively and uplifting towards the people. And I say this because I feel like a lot of the posts that you make or things that you put on social media are always about, well, positivity and also other people. So it definitely aligns with what you're saying right now, which is really cool to hear, and it's great to hear about. I remember also there's, besides having a book, which is a cool thing to hear that you do, you're also, I was curious about other things that you enjoy having as a part of your life in order to improve your quality. I know one being essential oils.
Yes, something that I'm such a granola chick.
I'm curious how that started, and what I'm curious how deep your involvement and enthusiasm into oils are, because I do I do occasionally like use them in my humidifiers and stuff, and it does feel nice like to be able to sleep, but I haven't looked very deep
A
into it
whole
at all.
nother
So I'm curious.
podcast.
Okay.
That's a whole nother. I started using them, honestly. I didn't believe in them. I thought they were like whatever. And this lady wouldn't get off my back about it. And
Okay.
she bugging me about it, bugging me about it. And I I get cold sores, and I always get them like around my lip. And it was in the summer, and Maris was a year old. She wouldn't sleep, and I had gotten this really bad cold sore, and the lady just wouldn't get off my back about it. And I actually tried them just to make her shut up. I know that's terrible, but she's like, no, it's gonna help. This is gonna help your daughter sleep. This is gonna help your lip. And I was just like, oh. And so I tried these 2 different oils, and Maris knocked out, fell asleep, and my lip healed faster than it ever had. And so at that
Wow.
point, I was like, So I started doing my research and looking into it, and now we have a non-toxic home. So what I clean the house with is very effective. It kills 99.9% of all the germs, just like the chemicals. But if one of my kids drinks it, they're not going to get sick. I have our hand sanitizers has essential oils made with essential oils. All of our dental care,
Wow.
everything, you name it, we drink essential oil drinks. And I'm very, very particular about what I use. I did a lot of research on farms and in the efficacy of the products. And so we only use one brand. That's it. We won't use anything else. God bless you if you want to give me something. Unfortunately, we won't use it if it's not that brand. But we've been to the farms. We've planted lavender. We've planted clary sage. I've taken the kids. My kids go to essential oil camp. And we really do our best to have a non-toxic lifestyle. I mean, I make my own deodorant, my own face cream. Wow. I mean, you name it, shampoo, body wash, it's all natural essential oil stuff. You can eat it. And a lot of the stuff anything that we put on our body gets into our bloodstream, anything at all. So think about the things that we're touching, things that have labels on it that says do not ingest, but it goes on our skin. So it goes into our blood. So in essence, we've ingested it already anyway. And then a lot of them, I have a degree in psychology, and one of the coolest things about the oils for me was their healing ability with emotions. And each oil has physical benefits, but also has emotional benefits. And I could go on forever about emotional release and all those things, but those were really interesting to me. So ask Selene. I've got them all hooked on Valor. Before they perform, Mari wears it, Keone wears it, I wear it, Esric wears it, Melvin wears it, Bailey wears it. I even got Keita wearing it. But it's
called Valor?
It's called Valor, yes. Okay. And the blend is said to be the same blend of herbs that the Roman soldiers used to use before they went into battle, and they'd rub it on their shoulders to instill courage and self-confidence. And it's an oil that I carry with me, and before anybody performs, I always tell them put it on, and then whatever their routine is, whether they pray or they just visualize or whatever. But it's fun because I'll go in when somebody's performing and they'll say, look, I've got my Valor, but we all wear it. We all wear it now. So it's good stuff. It's really, really, really good stuff.
That's really incredible. Yeah, that's like something that I've heard very little about, but the fact that you've done so much research is really cool to hear.
You can borrow.
Okay, yeah, like something I'm curious about that I want to hear your opinion on. And it's okay if this is kind of a tangent from what we usually go, but I think this is essential oils is something that everyone knows of, but it's not always endorsed by the mainstream, and a lot of times it's seen as like something that is just what was the word you used? Granola? Is that?
I call it granola. I mean, I think we know that our society is driven by the media. The FDA owns a lot. They regulate a lot, and they don't make money off of essential oils. So, I'm definitely not going to go on a political tangent, but I think that has a lot to do with it, you know. And I'm not against doctors. I'm not against any of that, but I definitely exasperate my organic and conservative resources before I pick up medication.
Got
So,
it. Okay, cool. I definitely want to ask you more about that probably
oh yeah,
later.
we
That's
can talk
awesome.
about it for days, and I can dump my boxes and boxes in my kitchen. I cook with essential oils. In my
Wow.
kitchen, I have, all our cabinets, and I actually have a cabinet, you pull it out, and it's oils and 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 oils.
Wow. That's
But
crazy.
we have diffusers in every single room of the house, and I'm dropping a diffuser off for somebody later who's short diffusers. I'm like, I've got 7 in the closet. I'll bring you one.
That's incredible. Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'll look forward to that.
As far as
Um,
you asked what I do, though, for me, I work out. I train a lot. Keone Mari and I have the same trainer, and then I also train with someone
mm,
else at that facility. So Nia Fan is our trainer, and then Mike
yeah, fam.
Garza is the trainer that I train the most with. And then we have our doctors, our recovery doctors. Recovery is a whole important aspect I think people are just now starting to see the value of. But we have our recovery doctors, Dr. Ben and Dr. Don from Kinetic Impact RP, that we work with, and they are an absolute lifeline for me. And probably one of the things that I'm missing the most by doing what's right and staying home is I miss training. I miss it so much. I was in December. I mean, I was training 4 to 5 times a week with one of the trainers, and then it went down to it was like twice a week right before we went into quarantine. And I'm constantly like checking in, like, when can we train? I miss you. But it's something that's really good for my mental health and for me physically as well. Coach Nia, they train, Keone Mari train with him. And
Mm-hmm.
he's really big in mindset training, and so is Mike. But when I was
Mindset
training
training.
with Nia, he was saying that it's so important that I maintain this for me, because when I'm at my best is when I can do my best for others. And that is honestly what made it okay for me to train, because I am so in love with humans and so in love with doing things for others. I will often do that before I take care of myself. But when I realized that me not doing my due diligence and taking care of myself wasn't allowing me to be the best version of myself, and then I was not able to be the best that I could be for everyone else, is really what made me stop, pull back. I don't want to say pull back, stop, find that pocket of time and go. So, before we went into quarantine, I was boxing like 5 to 6 days a week in the mornings, and then training with the trainer 1 to 2 days, 1 to 2 evenings a week. And now I am really trying to find a way to do more at home, because that's been really, really hard. Something that I'm missing a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was good to hear that before this, you were really taking the time to take care of yourself physically, even though what your job requires technically doesn't require you to be like physically. What's the word? Like you don't have to be like you're not an athlete, I guess, in the sense that your talent is. But I'm saying this for the parallel that a lot of people work and they
Mm-hmm.
don't actually have to like be physically fit for their job, but that that's also the reason they can write off exercising and taking care of their bodies. And
Yeah.
I felt that to a degree, like as someone who's going more into trying to build a brand and a business and a podcast and
Mm-hmm.
do more filmmaking. That doesn't always require me to be dancing and breaking, so I started to neglect that a lot more. But I also noticed that when I do take the time to exercise and to take care of my body and my mind, that is also when everything else thrives throughout my day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, when I was dancing, I was dancing like 20 hours a week. So going from that, I mean, think about it. Think from when you take class and then you have rehearsal, and then if you teach, I mean, easily 20 hours a week. So with that shift, it's almost like I didn't realize it. I didn't realize how little I was doing.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's so important to me now, and I absolutely, I love it. it's really important. And a huge kudos and love to our trainers, because they are a huge reason why we're able to do what we do. I may not dance as much as I used to, and I may not be performing, but they still enable me to do my work better because I'm able to take better care of myself.
Yes, most definitely. And as far as it goes right now, where we can't currently go to gyms and stuff, um, I'm curious how you're looking to adapt to that while you can't go out, and how you're going to physically maintain yourself. And is there things that your team or the people that you're managing are doing in order to combat this by staying home? And are you taking pages out of their book?
I like to work out with them. It just makes me feel better. And I started lifting, and I really like to lift heavy, and I obviously don't have that at home, but a lot of like the, body, body weight exercises and stuff we can do. I did grab a couple dumbbells and a kettlebell and a Bosu ball, and some hip bands. So I can do a lot at home now. It's been, and I think why training for me personally works so well, going to train with a personal trainer, is because I'm then accountable to them. I know that I'm taking care of me, but I'm accountable to them. So I have to show up at that time for those hours, at that schedule, and it becomes a part of my routine. When I'm home, it's so much easier for me to say, oh, well, so-and-so needs this. Let me go ahead and do this email real quickly. I'm going to work out in a half an hour. Oh, this came in. Let me take care of this. But when I physically have committed to going somewhere else and there's somebody else, I don't want to let them down. So I'm not going to cancel. So I have the things I need at home. But sorry, everybody. I have what I need at home, but I still haven't gotten to the place where I've worked it back into a daily routine. And I really miss boxing. I don't box people. I don't hit people. Can't wrap my head around that. But I would take power boxing classes. So, with a bag or the hydro bags. So I'm actually I was looking at Amazon and talking to my good friend today. I think we're both going to get the standing bags so that I can put it in the living room and just go.
Nice. Okay. That would be nice. Okay, I see. So, yeah, I guess everybody's having not trouble, but everybody's got to find their own way to adapt at the moment.
You just have to adjust to a different routine. And yeah, I mean, Chris and Larkin are offering a lot of online classes, so they're still moving and creating inside the house. Keone Mari, will work out outside. And, I've kind of checked in with everybody. I was talking to Melvin earlier, and he's been creating in the living room or, things like that.
Is he in LA?
He lives in LA, but he is currently not home. Oh. He's currently not home. He's healthy, and, he's just, we don't want anyone to get on a plane right now. When all of this hit, the first thing I did was get home. And I was just retracting people and just trying to get them home as fast as possible and make sure that they had flights and Melvin, everyone's hesitant to get on a plane. I'm hesitant to get on a plane right now. And I fly almost every weekend, or every week, I should say, almost. And so a couple of people were like, hey, you know what? I'm healthy. Do I really need to rush back to my house? And I was like, maybe not. If you're healthy and you're fine, you're with loved ones, you're with family. Some people have opted to be not at their home, but at their parents' home or something like that. So everybody is healthy and safe. But, not 100% of them are in their personal homes right now. They might be with family members and whatnot.
Got it. That's good to hear. I'm glad you're taking care of them. I guess switching gears a little bit, just so we can get a lot of people who are listening to this are probably, like I noticed my age, are in the urban or hip hop scene. And a lot of them are not only looking to be maybe just professional dancers, but also how they can play their part best in the community. And that's also another reason why I wanted to have you on, is because not typical, but you're not simply just becoming a professional dancer, but you're also, you found your way to play your best role in this whole show. So I guess you also have a very unique perspective, which is to be able to interact with so many of these people that we look up to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was curious, with that perspective of yours, are there qualities or things that you see that your legacy and you align with, that all of your talent has, that you feel like is pretty common, or not common, but yeah, let's say common, to share between everybody?
While everybody is so different, there's one underlying thread that is the same between all of them, and it's authenticity. It's them really just being who they are. It's not, and I think that that's something, that's a quality that each of us has. But when you can just be your true, authentic self, and what you create is really just a representation of who you are, how you feel, how you see, how you interpret. Since we're talking about dance, the music, the movement, that's why these people are so good. They're so good because they're their true selves. Keone and Mari are so different from Melvin, who's so different from Davin, who's so different from Tre, but they are their own authentic selves. And people that look up to whoever, it's because they have a uniqueness. It's not because, oh, this person does a really good job of copying this person, so I should copy them, copying him, copying him, copying him. And then what happens? I mean, think of a tea bag. You make a cup of tea, you steep that tea bag. If you use that same tea bag to go make 10 more cups of tea, you're going to end up with water, an incredibly watered down version of what you wanted in the first place. So if we all just tap into what our unique God-given qualities are and be the best versions of ourselves, that's where we're going to be successful. Because you have a gift that I don't have. So me trying to copy or emulate your gift isn't going to be the best use of my skills and my talents. And I think that, when we were talking about things we were going to cover, or, questions that people might ask, or there really was a crossover between two things that you said, is why are these people so good? And then how can other people grow who they are? These people are so good because they genuinely are who they are. From who they align with, to the companies and brands that they work with, to the music that they dance to what they create, it's genuine and it's authentic and it's truly a part of who they are. And that's why you look up to Keone Mari, and that's why somebody looks up to the way Melvin dances, and pick somebody who you look up to. And when you get that person in your mind, do you look up to them because they are a carbon copy of somebody else that you respect? Or do you look up to them because there's something that they have that is unique and special? And that's what draws you to them. So all of these upcoming aspiring artists and talents, if they will look in while still respecting what they see when they look out, but they look in and tap into their unique gifts and talents, and then pull that out and grow that, that's when they're going to be successful. And that's when they're going to be the best versions of themselves. And even with how I handle all of our humans, I know that I love people. I know that I love good people. I know that I love supporting people. And that is what God put me on this earth to do. And so that's what I tap into. And I'm so thankful and so blessed to have a support system. I have Lee J. Razalan, who's a mentor and a brother to me. I don't know if you know who he is, but
yes,
if you,
I met him a few weeks ago. Yeah,
you should. He's so special to me. Arnel Calvario, who is one of my dearest friends. And I have these beautiful women who work with me at Legacy, who are incredible. Michelle Mersch Kelly and Kath An, Caitlin Song, and Kaylin Clark. And we are such a strong team. And it's not and that's why I do my best not to say I, because I don't do this on my own. I've got the biggest voice. People, you know, you're going to hear from me, but these are beautiful people who have tapped into skill sets that they have, that they're willing to share and work together. And that's why I believe that we're successful, is because we're really trying to do it our way, with our strengths, not the way that X, Y, or Z said to do it, but because we truly believe that the way we are doing this, the way that we manage, the way that we support, the way that we advocate, is the right way to do it for us and for our humans. And that is how we push our work forward.
Good to hear.
And I'm long-winded, so forgive the big long answer, but I'm super passionate about what we do.
That was really great. No, and the way you laid it out was very clear and concise. Thank you.
Yeah.
And there are a few things I picked up from that, I guess, while I was listening. Is definitely that theme of gratitude keeps coming back, and the support system. I feel like those are two big things that can help one find their best self. And this is what the show is about, is being able to bring people on who I feel have managed to at least find their pathing and are very close to becoming their best selves. And that's something that's why the show is here, to help others. And I know there's not one answer to that. Everyone has their own journey and their own path, which makes it complicated. But the best thing I can do is try to at least provide examples, because examples and figures and inspirations have always been my guiding light. So I hope that can continue I can provide some for other people as well who are looking for that. So that being said, even though there isn't any one way, I'm curious what might have helped you, or what resources you might recommend to people who are aspiring, young, let's say my age, coming out of college, coming out of high school, who are looking to identify their best selves and how they can continue to pursue that. I think some good starting points was like the support system and gratitude. But if there's any more, then yes, feel free to share.
I think make sure you never stop growing. Be a lifelong learner. Keep training. Keep training. Keep training. The only guaranteed way to fail is to stop trying. That's the only guaranteed, proven way that someone's going to fail, is if they stop trying. But make sure that you're a lifelong learner. I'm still learning something new every day. I try to do my best to be aware of what's going on, to think 10 steps ahead, to just kind of keep my finger on the pulse and be willing to learn and adapt, because things they're going to continue to change and they're going to continue to evolve. And if we don't grow and have some flexibility and adaptability, we're going to get left in the dust. So I think it's so important to be a lifelong learner. And you know what? Sometimes you might learn something and all it teaches you is what not to do. And there's still a gift in that. You know, I try and approach everything that it's either a lesson or a blessing. And if we do something that doesn't turn out the way that we wanted, or we hoped, or we anticipated, that becomes a lesson. And if we've learned from it, it then becomes a blessing as well. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Failing forward, right? I think that is kind of aligning with the idea that you keep trying different things, and even if it doesn't work out for you, you at least know how to approach it next time you're coming at it, right? Okay, thank you for that. That's very helpful. Okay. How common is it for urban dancers and I guess let's say urban dancers, people who are in the same realm and world, like arena and vibe and all of this stuff, for these artists to have managers or to be under like groups? Is that a common practice as of now, or is it still a growing thing?
I think it's still growing. I think that there are still a lot of different schools of thought on it. I don't think that everybody needs a manager. And that's one of the things that I tell people when we meet often. I don't think that everybody needs a manager. I think I think managers, in my opinion, they're needed when an artist has gotten to a point where their workload extends beyond what they're able to handle while still creating. When there are logistics involved that they either don't care to handle or do not necessarily have a knowledge of how to handle. And when the work and offers and opportunity are coming in at such a pace or at such a level that it's helpful to have somebody flush things out, go through, do the initial questions, checking into it, looking into it, and seeing what really, what they would suggest that they do or not do or consider or not consider. I think that's, when somebody's, and then of course handling contracts and having an attorney to look over it and all that stuff. When you're at a point where you need assistance in those things, I think a manager is very, very helpful. If you are still somebody who would benefit from being caught when a wide net has been cast, when opportunity is just broad and maybe not so specific, I don't necessarily think that those people need managers.
Is Lee J considered the manager of Kinjaz?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So it seems like you said, only once the opportunity becomes a little bit overwhelming for the artist, that it becomes helpful to have a partner to help them manage the logistics as well, right? So,
I don't know, overwhelming. I think that it's, I don't know if I would use the word overwhelming, but when you've reached the point where assistance in navigating, guidance, and those larger logistics, can be tackled by someone else that focuses specifically on those and has a knowledge base around those things, I think it's important. And you are going to notice that there's a trend in the types of talents, artists who do have managers and who do need managers. And a lot of times, it becomes very obvious as to why they would choose to go that route. Mm-hmm. There's definitely, there is also the benefit of having somebody who works to provide opportunity as well. And that is also a part of what we do, but it doesn't mean that everybody needs to go out and try and get a manager. It's not needed for everyone.
If you had to, so I know that it may not be such a big, so there's a very give or take, and it's situational whether a dancer needs a manager. But if dancers eventually want to pursue management, if they ever want to go down the same or similar path that you have, what do you think are some of the more exceptional qualities of good managers?
Patience, honesty, transparency, listening, being driven. Oddly enough, nothing I think that they would teach you in a textbook. But, people tell you, you need a certain skill set. You do need to know how to speak to people. You do need to know how to read a contract. You do need to have an attorney, a bookkeeper, those people that are specified that can assist you in those ways. But if you are unable to listen, if you're unable to be respectful and have a calm conversation with somebody who may not be receiving your message well, you're not going to need those other things, because most likely you're not going to be able to get the job. I've had so many people tell us that they are thankful that we're easy to work with, because there are plenty of people to work with, and they don't want to work with jerks. And I've had a lot, we receive that a lot. And that's, you know, it sounds so simple, and it sounds like, no, you gotta be kidding me. Be a good human. Listen, be respectful, stay firm in what you need, and be willing to do a lot of work. Yes, you do need specified self. Of course you do. But those things are going to take you very, very far.
Yeah, it does sound simple, but it is definitely a skill that it's valuable nowadays, especially with attention and all of these things that are, everything is fighting for people's attention, to be able to hone and truly listen. And it does sound like, yeah, you should just, that's just common sense. You should be able to do that. But I do value being able to have conversations with people.
Absolutely. And of course, we know Excel and Word and bookkeeping and, you know, have attorney resources. Of course, we have all of that. It's not like we're flying by the seat of our pants. But in addition to those very basic bullet point skills, those other things are really, really important. It's really important to be able to work well with others, because you're going to come into a ton of different personalities, a ton. And you've got to be able to handle it. You've got to be able to navigate it, and you've got to be able to get the job done.
Thank you for that. Wow. It's okay. We're closing up because we're rounding up about an hour. And the fact that you told us something, and said that, like, surprisingly, it is not something that can be learned from textbooks, is great, because I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be able to host a space for people. So I think there are a lot of people who are going to be able to gain a lot from this. So thank you, Cheyenne.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. If there was anything that you could impart on people that could help them begin to start developing these qualities, if this isn't something that they were naturally born with, to be able to be more patient, to be able to listen, have there been any books or resources that you would recommend, or that have helped you, that you might want to be able, and it doesn't have to be a book, it could be like a film or a documentary, or a show, anything like that might be able to help develop that type of skill within somebody?
You know, for me, I have a degree in psychology. I specifically went to school, and it taught me so much with dealing with people. I originally thought that I wanted to get my PhD and go into private practice. But, you know, when people ask me you hear people, unfortunately, you do hear people say, I think school is very, very valuable. And I also think that it's not for everyone. So I definitely don't judge people who don't go to school. That's not what this statement's about at all. We each have our own path and our own journey. I loved school. And, you know, a lot of times people joke and say, oh my gosh, you went to school for all that time and you got a degree in psychology and you don't use it. And I tell them, actually, I use it every day. Because for me, what I took out of all the things I learned in school were how to work with people. How to work with people, and understanding that everybody has different walks of life and different journeys and different, just how we react and act upon things. So school and what I learned was a lot for me. Life experience was a lot. Seeing and experiencing situations where I didn't feel valued, heard, or respected were incredible lessons for me. And knowing and using those and turning those lessons into blessings, and remembering how it felt when this, and making sure that I act accordingly this way. Because I think, you know, we're in the business of people. We're in the business of people. And if we don't love and respect people, then we shouldn't be in this business. And that's really how I approach things. But I think for everybody, it could be a book, it could be an experience, it can be so many different things. And just looking up to people who I love and respect and seeing a common thread there, how they treat others. And that has been a huge tool for me as well. And it goes right back, again, bringing up DJ Razalan. He's really been and continues to be a rock, a mentor, a brother, a partner, a very valued friend. And the way that he deals with people, regardless of the situation, is an absolute gift. An absolute gift. And I think that everybody has somebody like that in their lives, where they look at them, they look at how they deal with situations, people, work, and they respect it. And that can teach us a lot. It can teach us a lot.
Gotcha. That's a awesome note to end on. Thank you, Cheyenne.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to leave with the audience? Final words that you have? Anything that you'd like to promote?
You know, I want to say thank you. And I just, in this time right now, I think that the world just needs more beautiful, good art. So keep creating. And you know what? I also think that there's this expectation now that we're home. You have all this time, you should do blah. Maybe you just need to take care of you, and that's okay too. But I think as long as we keep sharing our love for what we do and putting positivity into our community and supporting each other and lifting each other up, that's really the best thing and the strongest message I could send right now. Sure, there's 100 projects and we could advertise that, or we can really just pour love and support into our community and keep doing that, and we can lift each other up as a whole.
We're all in this together. So yeah, keeping that in mind. And yes, remembering that this will pass. And until then, just keep doing the best to doing what you need to do for yourself so that you can do your best for others.
Absolutely.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Cheyenne. It's been a pleasure to hear your voice and to hear your words. And I think a lot of people are going to get a lot from this.
I hope so. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Hopefully, till next time.
Yeah, until next time.
This has been Cheyenne and Kai on the Crossroads. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. Till next time. Peace.